He's going full off-road. BMX dual flip.
Oh, so close, but the bike does not have the same horsepower as the Murano does. 17 gets the safety. The same thing cannot be said about Mel, who would probably really have wanted something a little bit faster in that situation.
Mel's got to go back and hit the gym if he wants to hit that Murano horsepower, right? Is now finally FaZe eyeing more into the north as they say, okay, if everybody's going to be walking into this, we should have a good set of vision into it. But it is also going to be Gen G with high ground taking some shots into 17. While this is all going on, TE is going to be wrapping in pretty close along a similar pathing, right up next to Uba, who decided to not take a bicycle because Terminators only use their feet, right?
Exactly. Or motorbikes, I suppose. In any case, Delvin up close now. Damage done. Finds Uba. Help from Tanwu down behind, but he deals with him himself. Again, expendables. They just go from fight to fight to fight. And most impressively in all of this, they don't lose players. They're so good at not only take fights, but also make sure that one is always tasked with making sure that everyone stays on their feet.
Look at this crossfire that's been set up by FaZe. They sent Gustav over into the east, waiting. Two members are getting very, very close up and in, and it's going to be Vex that does spot out Tanvu, but he is going to go down. Corexy now has to come over, provide some type of support. James is still looking into the south wall. This is going on 17, trying to make its own move. FaZe might find itself picked apart if it's not careful, but it's going to be Corexy's aim that just says no.
Lops on forward, tries to get one more, but here comes the cavalry. Dog Shoes is here, 777 is here as well. And there's only one on the other side, picks him up, but they're awful timing on that one. As Corexy goes down, and just like that again, even with everything going against them, they will be able to get at least one up, depending on whether or not Delvin has a jammer pack. He could potentially get up to.
Got to be careful with the sight lines, though, as if he goes over that way, it's going to be Danoa that sees him. If they move up the hillside, it's going to be the remnants of FaZe that can spot them out. As you can see, it's going to be that little ant moving in distance was going to be Gustav, who's now starting to take some shots back up into it, and the blue zone is going to finish out Delwyn. This is going to be Tyloo's struggle. You can see that they're dealing with this is the low ground disadvantage.
Yeah, it's so hard for all these teams to maneuver down this hillside. We have a pretty much perfect slant uphill towards the west, and everyone is just sat down there in their separate piece of the layer cake, waiting for teams to close up towards them. Danoa finally getting things going again as James and Gustav falls. That is FaZe out in 10th.
Circle did shift a bit to the west as Gen G not going to have to move too much further, move down the hillside. They are aggressing into that Luminosity sightline, but it's going to be TE still having to contend up with Dano, who's getting more active, realizing the fact that this is where all the party's been going on, and this is where KP can be found. Trying to spot him out, does spot out 777, but doesn't quite finish him off.
And there he goes. Okay, in the end he will fall, and again, I mean, for Danoa, usually we see the team that is sat inside that compound have a hard time get out of it, but they knew exactly what they had to do. Wrap around that northern tunnel. They do lose one on it, but at least they do get out. Best of luck logging down the fort, or the shack I should say, as he finds DraftKings trying to make more of it now. It's going to be hard because Capitan has a perfect angle, and I think Best of luck is going to need at least a couple of smokes to get out, unless if he can just tear his helmet off.
I also do want to point out that we see Danoa moving around with an LMG in a close range.
What?
Yep, just spray all of them to the dead.
Well, I mean, Luminosity have been running into Korean snakes all day. First it was LG, no, first it was, sorry, Loki on military, and now PO does some dirty with the Groza too. That happened in an instant.
It was kind of a protracted fight. As on the map, we kind of saw them shift down. PO had some support in, and then it was going to be Taman that was up on top, just not allowing them to move, and just allowed PO to get right up on top of them. But you'd want to see at least a bit of a more solid defense coming out from LG on it. But it was so hard.
PO things, man. Yeah, PO does PO things, regardless of whether it be a good or bad thing. This time around, it was absolutely perfect.
Moving in, it's going to be Daytrade that actually does get center. We've got Capitan for the Falcons. It's going to be out looking kind of in that southern direction. Up in the north, we still have Sol and the rest of the crew looking down at the remnants of T5, as well as Tyloo, who are awkward spot as bicycles coming back into play.
Here we go. Setting up, getting ready to go. Getting ready to maneuver down this hillside. And in all fairness, I mean, regardless of whether it be a bike or not, you just don't want to be running down that hill. So perfect for Sol to be able to get the bike game on, get the BMX in there, and get going as fast as possible. Going straight down towards Thanadol in front of him.
Yeah, Thanadol playing this one slowly. That flash is going to connect, but nice go spin around on it. Goes for the shots back up. Reads it well, but can he get anything else? Nah, Sol's like, hey, thanks for throwing out the utility. Let me know what to do. Sitting back up, it's going to be more and more Danoa as it's going to be them sweeping down into longs, but Anonix on the opposite side of the circle, trying to make sure that he gets control of that high ground.
Again, Dano are starting to get things going. They lost players early on in this one. Salute fell on the exit of the compound, but in all the previous games, they have just been losing players way too early for them to get things going at all. In group stages, it took until the second to last game before they finally got themselves a game they could be proud of. And now, if they can do so here in the first day of this one, they might just be in for a really good winner's bracket, regardless of where they're set in the leaderboards right now. Pio finds number 4 as we make our way into the top 3.
We got ourselves a pretty much Korean sandwich. Dano up into the north, Gen.G in the south, and poor Day Trade just clinging to life in the middle of it. But we might be able to see with the little bit of cover that they have, could buy something for them. The circle does shift up, favor them. Gen.G is now have to figure out, okay, we have the high ground, we're now in the thick of it. How do we want to approach this?
The whole full speed send it center has changed with emergency pickups. Day Trade, when all chaos broke loose, they like emergency pickup into the middle of this hellhole, essentially. And somehow, they've been able to stay with 3 up, or down, I should say, as they're all lying on their stomachs right now. Well, with the exception of Pushills and Norrens. They're chilling, at least for a little while longer, hoping to see Gen.G and Dano do some damage to each other before they have to join the fight.
Belmont's been pretty quiet for a long period of time.
Yes.
I don't know how many people know exactly where he is, and I think that's one of the reasons you're seeing Gen.G be so cautious on this. This is a very complicated section of the map.
It is.
It's its own independent valley inside of a valley, for lack of a better term, and a lot of hills, a lot of these little mini dips where just a snake can come out and destroy you.
Valleyception is upon us as Gen.G creeps on forward. They have had endgame after endgame available, but have not been able to close out the games. Gen.G this time around, though, 4v3v3. Pio is already sprinting forward. They got the double Groza lineup as they full speed send it forward, but they have completely missed Belmoth.
He is just so sneaky right now, waiting. Looks like the rest of Gen.G is going to take a similar path. They're going to hop inside their vehicles. Now Belmoth is going to be 100% certain. Okay, I now know where majority of this team is, given the way that there's pathing. There's no shots. It's going to be the split over right here. He can feed that information back over to pubg, as well as the other teammate that's hiding inside the shack. Even if Belmoth dies here, doesn't get a knock, if he can at least feed some type of information over to his teammates to get something to happen over there, that'd be great. But, I mean, Anonix and Taman watching is going to be hard.
I mean, Pushills and Norrens are still inside this circle, so they have no reason to over-aggress. I'm surprised no one has used a couple of bullets to break down that door, so they get a pretty angle. As I say that, we're instantly hearing shots connect on the door. Maybe they're too far away to do proper damage to it, but I would imagine that breaking the door would be a priority for all these teams.
But that's so big. Look at Belmont's positioning and where the front door of that shack is.
Yeah.
If you commit to going after that front door, you're opening up the angle for Belmoth to exploit, and he's just being as patient as he can with it.
It is a pretty difficult ridge for him to peek out and over. So yes, where there's a chance for him to peek over, I think even with the door gone, if it does break, he would still hesitate for a little while longer. Gen.G, though, fully committing to the eastern side. They want to wrap underneath, they want to wrap around on this one, and they want to take the fight to Danoa.
That's allowing Day Trade to go ahead and hop out, right back down to the south. That's going to be information fed over from Belmoth. EG reads what's going to be going on with Loki. Take him down. That LMG not going to get a chance to just unload, as we're going to see utility just coming out everywhere. Danoa having to respond and step away. Remember the fact that Anonix is all the way over there by himself, so this is just a 1v4.
Thank you, Gen.G, for fighting close range. You have a P90 and 2 Grozas. You better run it straight into their face, because you have the ultimate firepower available in this matchup. Anonix from a distance tags Pio, but ain't gonna be much damage coming through. He too has to get off this hillside.
He just has to try to slow down Soul in some fashion to let Soul get something happen here. But again, the Gen.G shift coming out closer and closer to Belmoth. That is just the deadliest Jack in the Box waiting to pop off. But if you give it a second, spin's gonna be coming out. Tama does connect into Neurons, but that's as good as gone, as Puchu's still creeping forward. No big exploit has been able to happen just quite yet, and it's gonna be Anonix that ends up going ahead and finishing it all out.
And what's the issue? It's gonna happen eventually if Belmoth does not make a play, especially with his teammates taking damage. They're gonna be like, wait, they're running there. Where's the last? Anonix flexes out as Pushills is going for the rest on his teammate and spots Belmoth from up high. So even though he had a position from where he could have had a surprise factor, because Anonix has still yet to give up the high ground, Belmoth ended up having no impact.
Gen.G's got to be careful, as they have some really good pathing to work with, but they might find themselves, if they overextend into the circle too much, putting themselves into the pinch position. And that's what they're trying to avoid. Leaving EJ back into the north to kind of control what's going on with Soul. They still know that he's over there. They kind of have an idea on exactly where Anonix is going to be at. but it's going to be the day trade members that they have to be very, very careful that they don't step in a firing line between.
I mean, Gen.G knows that they're 4v4. They should also, if they've counted the kill feed right, know that they're up against 2 duos. And they know for a fact that Anonix is set up at high. They saw 2 people inside the shack, so they can already now start doing the math of who can be where. Soul shot at them from before. They know that there's 2 players on the right, 2 players on the left. They are just waiting for Anonix. Let the circle do the work for you. Force Anonix down that hillside and allow that fight to get properly up close. Because again, as I said, double Groza, P90. You cannot ride up a win better than this.
I really love the way that they have this lined up. They left Taman and as well as EG up in the north to kind of deal with and contain what's going on with Danoa. Meanwhile, circle control and center dot control has been all about what's going on with DG and Pio. It means that the moving factors, they should be able to handle both. Actually, they're going to go ahead and say, nah, Taman, you've got this. And they're going to have EJ shift down into the south so that way they can double up repair, get control over the center dot, and also have EJ as there to kind of a safety factor to handle what's going on with day trade.
I'm not liking if all of Gen.G all of a sudden goes down into this bowl. We've seen it before where they've had the winning opportunity in games, but because of their indecisiveness, they've come up short this time around. Those teams like they're more committed to it. They quickly read that Anonix is up there on the rock, but not able to get him down initially. Second time around, though, works out for them. Norrens instantly, though, responds. So Nox going on all sides.
You got Taman that went down at the exact same time. Day Trade's trying to exploit this, use the numbers that they've got to try to brute force through. Molotov's going to come out and slow everything down. That is perfectly played coming up from Gen.G. Reset the pace, but while this is going on, you can see Soul's trying to figure out, do I have an opportunity to try to make something? Is he just picking up nades? Yeah, I think he's just picking up nades from his down teammate.
Oh, it goes close, but the angle, the camera beating us a bit there. Thought it was going to go right on to DG98, but not quite the case. Pool Shields now really doing a good work job at helping out Danoa to get the rest on through. They cannot peek over that ridge line without Pool Shields and Nurens shooting towards him. And now Flash speed up down forward. Danoa don't want to wait no more. They have to push in on this.
And this is where it becomes more and more problematic. As this goes on, Gen.G is being forced into the funnel right in between both of these squads. It makes it an unofficial 4v4, and they're realizing this. All stacked in. Butchus, Nurens moving in, but they have got to be careful. They're now starting moving in sidelines for Danoa. Danoa trying to exploit it, and that's going to be Soul. Picks them both up. And now Danoa looking down into a strong Gen.G.
Oh, and Nonix has 7 bullets left to work with, nothing to do for him. This time around, it ain't gonna happen. Gen.G out victorious. High fives galore as the boys in yellow claim the last game of the day. And